When you're a business owner, strapped for time, how do you think about choosing which platforms you need to be posting on?
I have a lot of unpopular opinions with like how small business owners should do social. I think that the most important thing is just how are you actually going to be showing up? Like what's going to make it so simple that you strapped for time and already overwhelmed with everything else? What's going to be the simple version of social media marketing that you are actually able to sustainably do consistently? And I think that that's where I get a little bit frustrated with a lot of the noise in the social media space, because a lot of them are talking to companies like Smutty or bigger, like much bigger, who have an in-house team. But you're not going to have that if you're just like a tiny mom and pop, or you're like a solopreneur or something like that. So I think like the most important thing is just finding where those customers are going to be. If it's like you already have a community around your brand, I would say Instagram is the best place to be, especially if you're targeting that younger to like Gen Z to like millennial. I'd say like erring on the side of millennial for Instagram. But the most important thing about Instagram is cultivating community. And I think Instagram, in my opinion, is the place to do that versus TikTok.
Why?
TikTok shows your content, not necessarily to the people following you. So it's very hard to like have that same community feel. Whereas Instagram, whether it does this well or not at any given time, it's done better with it in the past. And I do believe it's going to like get better at it again. Shows your content to your community. And the head of Instagram, they're trying to continue to have Instagram be a place where the most important thing is that community. And I think for small businesses, like that is what you need to focus on. TikTok is great if you like want visibility. If you want visibility and you're trying to get like your brand awareness up and everything like that, which we did for Smutty Nose too. But I think for a small business, especially, I'm just thinking of small businesses in the Seacoast, Instagram is like where your foundation for social media should be. The other thing that TikTok is good about is like if TikTok learns where you're posting from, it is so dialed in of showing that content to those people around you, which a lot of people don't really consider with TikTok because they think of virality. They think of this is going to hit all over the world if this goes viral. But like TikTok does a really good job even for small businesses if you're again like just trying to get visibility, less of that community culturing or nurturing. Like it does a really good job at showing just that locale, the local area, your content. It'll show other people too, but It gets really dialed in. Yeah. The algorithm is really good at that.
Right. Yes. And at this point, seems to be the universal agreement that TikTok's algorithm is better than Instagram's, at least for the moment. Who even knows what the future of TikTok is
right
at this present moment? A common mistake that I see in social media is people not posting specifically tailored to the platforms. You'll see a lot of people take one vertical video, post the exact same thing, no changes or modifications to Instagram, to LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky, and God knows what. But that's a mistake, right?
That's a mistake. But again, I go back to why I have unpopular opinions on this, because when you are a small business owner, if you are listening to all the different things that is causing more and more work, are you even going to consistently stay posting on social media? Probably not. If you listen to like, you have to do this, there's all these rules around social media, like versus let's say you're a small business that doesn't have a lot of capacity, but you can link your Instagram to your Facebook business page, where then every time that you're posting on Instagram, it also is posting to Facebook without any other work. Like I like to think about it like that. And I do the same thing for me, even like with content creation on my platforms. Like what is going to be something that helps me systemize this in a way that I'm not doing like all these different steps just to get one post up, because the value of one post has gone significantly down than what it used to be.
What do you mean?
You used to be able to spend a lot of time on a post, and then you would probably see that having a lot more value than you do now. But people are just like, their attention span, what they want to consume has changed so much that if you're spending all this time on one post, you might not see anything come out of that. The most important thing is, what are you doing to be able to remain consistent? Because consistency, social media is like a numbers game. Like you need to stay consistent and you need to be like staying consistent for a long period of time. If you're spending all of this time as a small business owner on taking your Instagram videos and optimizing them for every single platform, instead of just being really good at like one or two platforms, I think that's where a lot of people get burnt out very quick.
What's your definition of consistency? You've mentioned that word a lot. It's very important in all forms of content creation for podcasting and social media as well.
I love this question. So consistency to me is not so much how much you're posting, but it's just remaining really, really honest with like, okay, I'm going to post 3 times a week and I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday at like 5 p.m. Let's just say. I do that for a lot of my clients. Like I pick like 3 days and like I try to stick to the exact time for those days. And that's like training the algorithm that if people engage with that content at that time, every single time you're posting, like it's going to be showing your content, like it's going to be prepared to show your content at that time, every single time that you're sticking to it. When people are not consistent, that can look like posting 3 times a week for like 2 weeks and then they don't post for like 3 months. And that's not going to be good. And I had a client recently that I just started posting for that had literally hadn't been posting for like 3 months. And it took a while to get her content even showing up to people. And that's what we don't want, because then you're just like starting from scratch again and all that work. So that's why like I get frustrated when you need to dial in how you're going to be remaining You need to dial in how you're going to remain visible with consistency of like 3 days a week, if that's what it is, 5 days a week, if that's what it is, and like trying to stick to the same days and the same times. If you can master that, then like that will be the biggest thing for your business.
Yeah, for sure. How do you choose the days and times to post?
So you can do a couple of things. The easiest one, that's probably not like the most dialed in data, but you can just go within your Instagram and go into the analytics and then click on followers. And then at the bottom of that follower screen, it'll say like active days and active times. For most of my clients, that looks like weekdays and then like when people get out of work is a lot of times, but you'll see like a lot of people say different things about that. I think like just learning your account is important, but also to be honest, in my experience, as long as you just choose those times and stick with them, I don't know that it makes sense to be that focused on like getting that particular. There's been times where I've tried to like go off of like Sprout Social every year, like Sprout Social, which is like a big industry leader, releases like this social media wrap up of like best times to post, best days to post. There was so many times that for my clients and for myself, I tried to stick to that so much, my content tanked. Because what happens is like I had already trained my algorithm to show my content at different times and different days. So yes, like if I like kept up with those, like maybe I'd see a difference. But I think the most important thing is like, when are you actually going to be able to post? Are you scheduling your stuff? Just keep scheduling it for like the same time, same day, and just like stick with it. I just think that people tend to overthink social a little bit too much. And that's when they end up not posting enough.
What do you consider a successful post?
I would say a successful post is one that's relatively high quality. I would say that depending on your marketing goals, like if you are someone that is trying to reach new audiences, that would look like most likely a reel, because those have the highest visibility still. If you're like someone like Lovebirds, like I came up with this example. If you're someone like Lovebirds who monthly has new donut flavor releases, you could have like, they do a really good job of doing a photo carousel of like their new flavors every month. And people look forward to that. That is an incredibly valuable post for them, because people are hanging on to like see what the next month's flavor releases are going to be. But I think that a high quality post, so the content itself is high quality, you're grabbing people's attention in the first like 3 seconds, which we can go into that more.
Would love to.
Okay. So you hear this a lot on social, but hooking a viewer in the first, like they say 3 seconds, I would argue it might even be less, with either a visual hook a auditory hook or something that like when they're reading it, it makes them want to learn more.
Reading on the video.
Right. Reading like text on screen, which is ideally you mix at least 2 of those.
Right. That's the most important thing because in these algorithms, you're trying to get your videos recommended and show up in people's feeds. And for that to happen, the apps want they want you, the consumer, watching the video as long as possible so that you stay on their app as long as possible.
Correct.
So the goal of the video is to not only hook for the first 2 seconds, but to get them to then be enticed to watch the entire thing, which will then surface your content to more eyeballs.
Correct. Yeah, that watch time and then like anything that you can do that would be like shareable. And that comes down to honestly, you got to think about what you want to be sharing with your friends. And a lot of times that's something you think is funny, something you think is entertaining. And honestly, like the most powerful thing at this point is like storytelling and like having people feel like they relate to what you're posting about. And this is presented in many ways right now, but a lot of people, a lot of big time creators that have blown up from this are having some sort of almost like their own TV show. So they'll be like episode 1, episode 2. There's this one girl that's a nutritionist and she started kind of showing more of like her life. She like built her platform on like her recipes, but she decided she's tired of that. So she's going to start showing her life. She has blown up because every Friday she's putting out a video on a Friday about updating what happened that week. And I think that stuff in the beginning, you're like, does anyone care about this? But if you're presenting it in a way that's storytelling, you kind of do want to know like what's up in this person's life. Nothing that she's doing is groundbreaking, but the way that she tells the story is like what draws people in.
Yeah. And I'll just add my guess as to why storytelling is blowing up right now is because as we are now in the age of, the post-COVID age of isolation and loneliness and depression that social media has been a big driver of, and AI, and now with all these like, am I even communicating with a real person right now? We're kind of getting on edge. Like, did you write that or did AI write that? And so I think storytelling is probably the hardest thing for AI to do. It's the hardest thing to fake a good story. And I think we are craving right now as human beings good stories. Storytelling has been a part of the human existence since language was first invented. And it's obviously taken many different iterations since then. But at the heart of human beings is the desire to hear good stories, and creating in social media is just like such an incredible avenue for that. And so to your point, I think the people who can really tell stories and make people feel things is huge.
Yeah. And going along with that, like for a long time, there was the pressure to hop on trends. It was always about trends. Like make sure you're doing the trends, recreating the trends. Like that's going to help you gain visibility, no matter if you're a business or a content creator or influencer. I would say that trends, I wouldn't say they're dead. I think that they are still very valuable for gaining visibility, but followers don't mean as much as they used to. And I think that if you're trying to make money from brand deals or even just like for the benefit of your business, like drawing in more business, I think that having people connected to the people behind the account is what is the most important. And like having that engagement and showing that you have a community behind you, that's like what makes the difference nowadays.